Okay guys, so I have to share this video with you guys that I seen today, but before I do that, I want to show you guys these bracelets. I have new bracelets in the Glory Changers store. Go and check them out. I also have the perfume in that was out of stock for a while, but now it's back. So there's a lot of new bracelets, guys. Go check it out. There's something for everyone, females and males. I anoint them, I pray over them, I release the anointing, and I pray whatever the Lord has me pray for the person who will receive them. You can get to the Glory Changers store by scanning this QR code or hitting the link in the description box. Okay guys, check this video out.
Senior Christian leaders in Jerusalem just issued a rare rebuke of Christian Zionism, which we all know has been used to sell war and support of a foreign government, mostly to American Christians. Here is the statement. It comes from the patriarchs and heads of Jerusalem historic churches, and it criticizes Christian Zionism and warns against political interference into the life of the church. Now, it's rare to see such a clear pushback from the heart of Christianity's oldest communities, and it raises major questions about faith and power and politics. Father Robinson joins us today to discuss what's at stake and why the church was compelled to speak out. So thank you for joining me. What do you make of this statement first? And then I want to talk about how Mike Huckabee is freaking out about it, because I think that's interesting too.
Yes, absolutely. I think the statement is clear, concise, sound, very good. And it, of course, is released from the patriarchs and heads of the churches in Jerusalem, which tends to cover 13 of the oldest churches, most of whom are Catholic, Orthodox, Anglican, and Evangelical Lutheran. This is a council that have been working together for a long time. It's also the week of Christian unity, prayer for Christian unity, so it's a good time to release such a statement that essentially just says, look, first and foremost, Christianity is the truth, the only religion, and the New Testament is the fulfillment of the Old Testament. All of these things we knew already. But it also says there have been people standing up and speaking up on behalf of Christianity with a false teaching that don't have any authority to do so. And I think that's important because it's highlighting these people who are politicizing an error in the faith, as you and I would call dispensationalism, for politics, and essentially manipulating Christians into supporting a foreign state, which has a lot of influence over here in America. And so for the patriarchs to speak out so clearly against this error is helpful. I haven't seen it come out from the individual patriarchs, so I'd like to see the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem and the Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem come out and release this themselves too. But it's good to see it coming out from the united body.
But it says, such as Christian Zionism, that there are certain perversions of doctrine such as Christian Zionism. So it leaves room for other political manipulations of the Bible. And I think that that's good because you can apply this statement across political lines. And we see that happening, especially in America, when so many of these evangelical churches are being sold to Israel. And their data, as we've covered, how, you go to church, you get your data sold to Israel, and then you now are in this propaganda line. So it's a real problem, but they don't address it in such a I feel maniacal about it. I feel very concerned about watching this happen, but it seems they take a measured tone so that this can be applied in the future. What do you think of my assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. But they use the words dangerous ideology, which it is. And you're right that it points to Christian Zionism explicitly, which needs to happen because we need to be told as Christians that this is not something we can fall into the trap of. But also it leaves it open so that this statement can be pointed to in the future with other harmful ideologies when people try to twist our faith for their own political aspirations. Mike Huckabee, who I know you'll get to in a moment, is a prime example, but he's one among many of politicians in the West who have fallen in love with an idol or created an idol out of the modern state of Israel, but are using people's Christian faith in order to gain support. And you're absolutely right in that data is being sold, but the faith is being manipulated in a demonic way, really, truly. We know that, for example, one of the biggest Christian witnesses that we've had in modern times was Charlie Kirk's memorial, right? There was a great big Christian service with politicians and pastors and faith leaders all speaking from the pulpit, trying their best to proclaim the gospel. We know that the data from that, anyone who attended that was receiving propaganda from Israel. Like this is something that shouldn't be happening. Our faith shouldn't be used as a political tool for a modern state anywhere in the world.
Now, it doesn't specifically mention violence. It only mentions political co-opting. But we know that then is the consequence of supporting a nation state that is at war and has taken no precautions to pull back that war. And so, I mean, what do you make of it? I guess I wished that there was some kind of like, hey, the Bible says we're not supposed to be killing children, innocent children or something. But maybe that's implicit. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is the first step, because so many people's eyes need opening, and you can't open them all at once, and you can't jump in the deep end all at once. So you and I have had conversations before where we've said very clear things like, as you just pointed out, killing innocent children in Gaza is wrong. We should pray for all innocent lives. But just that statement alone is too much for too many people at the beginning. So we've got to start off by saying the Christian faith cannot be manipulated with any harmful ideology, including Christian Zionism. So the words there, people are thinking, well, Christian Zionism isn't part of our Christian faith. Why not? And then they can dig a bit further. But you and I obviously know that the true faith, the Christian faith, grew out of Judaism of the Bible, but Judaism of today is not the same as Judaism of the Bible. It is a reaction to Christianity. It's a rejection of Christ, and no one that rejects Christ is good. In fact, we have a word for that. It's called antichrist. And so we can't have Christians, Christ followers, supporting antichrist. It makes no logical sense. And so when we hear that to be blessed as a nation or to be blessed as a people, we must bless Israel, we need to get back to the teaching and realize that actually, well, yes, Israel is now the church. Israel is God's chosen people. And it started out with biblical Judaism, and the Gentiles were grafted in. Nobody was replaced. Gentiles were grafted in, and Jews and Gentiles of that time are now referred to as Christians, followers of Christ, God's chosen people.
Yeah. I want to talk about Mike Huckabee. I guess let's do this, because then I want to talk about how that sort of came to be. And since you're an English Christian, I think that you might have a good perspective. I've been reading the Scofield book about how he was Cyrus Scofield, who wrote the book, sort of the Bible teaching book that introduced dispensationalism to Americans, was influenced by John Nelson Darby, who was an Englishman. And I want to ask you, let's get to that first. Why do you think he did that? Why did you think he came up with this idea that God has these like disparate set of rules for who lived in what century, and then that means that we must then support the nation state of Israel?
I think because of a lack of authority, and I think because of too much pride. If we look at any modern error or heresy, they usually come about from someone who believes they are more special than everyone else. Martin Luther, John Calvin. If we look at Muhammad himself, right? So the Islamic faith comes from the same kind of private revelation that there's more to the truth than you've been given so far in the Bible. We have an extra, Joseph Smith with the Mormons, another one, all these people. And so Jonathan Darby is another one who's like, no, I have a better understanding than the church has had for the last 1,000 years or 2,000 years. I have a better understanding of the truth of revelation. And so it comes about from an element of pride, but also a lack of authority in that lack of submission to the church's teaching. The church has taught for 2,000 years that Christians are God's chosen people. The church has taught that we should love our enemies. And so it's not about becoming anti-Semitic, but it is about recognizing that some people are anti-Christ and we need to bring them to Christ. We don't need to leave people where they are, because loving your neighbor means leading everyone to Christ. It means trying to get everyone into heaven, make heaven crowded, as Charlie would say. That's our goal as Christians. And so when Jonathan Darby's poor theology got taken up by Scofield and spread, somehow making it from England over to America, where it's not even that prevalent in England anymore, but it is massive over here. We've got people who've only been taught that. And so all they know is that to bless Israel means to bless the 1948 state of Israel, which the Rothschilds and my government set up just 75 years ago.
Right. And I wonder, people who might still adhere to the Scofield Bible, haven't they been warned about false prophets? If you study the life of Cyrus Scofield, he abandoned his daughters. He married his second wife before he was divorced from his first. He was sued many times for fraud and theft. He stole money from people. He fought for the Confederacy and lied about it in order to work for the Attorney General's office. Why is this not obvious to everybody? We fall for these traps all the time. Was it yesterday?
no, 2 days ago now was Martin Luther King Day, a federal holiday in this country, for goodness sake. I'm like, what? So this is the first time I've been in this country during this holiday. I'm like, you have a federal holiday for a serial adulterer, sodomite, who denied the virgin birth, denied the resurrection of Jesus Christ, called himself a Christian. Like, it's the exact same problem as Schofield. These people that kind of make heroes of themselves, make saints of themselves, and people seem to follow them despite the fact that they are not following Christ. And we fall for it time and time again, which is why we should never make idols, which is why the only person we should ever follow is Jesus Christ.
Right. Well said. Okay, let's talk about Mike Huckabee, because here's his statement. It's long and convoluted. It's barely worth reading, but he's basically saying you can't gatekeep Christianity, but this is how I'm gatekeeping Christianity. That's the way I read it. He says, I don't understand how you can be a Christian and not a Zionist. Is this consistent, would you say, with, and here's what concerns me the most, because I know what you'll say about whether it's consistent or not with theology, but he is a politician using his religion for his political aims. How does the church distinguish between faith guiding moral life and faith as a political instrument?
Right, so our politics should be governed by our faith, not the other way around. And so we should look at the Bible for exegesis, as in we should take out of the Bible teachings. But quite often people look at it through eisegesis, where they put their own understanding into the Bible and try to make the Bible fit what they already believe. People like Mike Huckabee are a prime example of that, because his faith clearly follows his politics. And we see that because we have 13 faith leaders of all the biggest churches throughout the history of the church together releasing a statement. And he comes out and says, no, I know better. So not only is he trying to undermine the church, he's trying to rebuke the church as a politician, not a theologian, not a faith leader, not even a particularly good Christian, but as a politician. He's saying, no, I believe this, so you are all clearly wrong. I mean, the audacity of that, the degree of pride around that. I hope he has some introspection to say, maybe he'll look inside at himself a little bit and think, am I right on this? Is the church trying to teach me something that I haven't yet understood? Because that's what we should all be doing. And I include myself in this, all of us, whether we're priests, bishops, or laymen, whatever we are, we should be thinking, what is the church teaching me in this? And how can I take something from it? Not how can I put my own understanding onto it? Because that's how we fall into pride and error and heresy.
Mike Huckabee seems very slippery. He seems to be outside of the realm of consequences. I mean, meeting with Jonathan Pollard, the spy, recently inside Israel, I don't have any faith that he will take that introspective route that you've suggested. But okay, anyone can course correct, so I will be kind about it, even though I don't.
Well, I think he's gone native, hasn't he? We've seen this. Meeting with an Israeli spy is one thing, but he promotes Israel over and above promoting America. I often forget he's America's ambassador to Israel. I often think that he's Israel's ambassador to America, and nobody should be thinking that. Nobody should have any doubts about his loyalties, but we clearly do. And this is the problem with these politicians, that if you are representing this country, you should believe in this country first and foremost. Then that's the United States of America. If you don't love America more than every other country, you should not be a representative. You shouldn't be an elected official for this country. It's actually tyranny. It's actually treasonous. And it would have been treated as treasonous in any other previous generation. But we live in a soft generation where people can seemingly do whatever the heck they want, as long as they put Israel first. And, there have been concerns about many of the mainstream politicians on their dual loyalties to Israel.
Yes. So how can Christians be on guard against false prophets who manipulate their well-intentioned faith for political aim?
Good question. I would say pick up the Bible, but don't read the Bible by yourself. Read it in church. Go to church. Find out what the church teaches. And the older the church, the better. If you can go to a Catholic church or an Orthodox church, fantastic. Find a teaching that's been around for 2,000 years. Don't find a teaching that's only been around for the last 100 years. Because if it's only been around for the last 100 years, it's novel, it's innovative, it's new, and it's probably wrong. Go with the sacred tradition, the sacred teaching of the church. The church is infallible because it is founded by Jesus Christ himself. And therefore, he revealed the truth to us. Let's go with his truth rather than Darby or Schofield or Huckabee or even President Trump.
All right. I love it. Thank you so much for breaking this down for us. I really appreciate it. It's always good to see you.
Okay, so very well spoken, except the part about Catholicism. No. Okay, because they make up their own doctrine. But I agree with everything else that he was saying. And when I was listening to him, I was so surprised because he actually is in Jerusalem. He's actually in Israel, and he's saying this. So this is churches in Israel saying this. I mean, it can't get no more obvious than this. And I really felt like I had to share it for whoever is still not woken up yet to the fact of what they're doing and the politics that they're playing. All right, guys, let me know what you think about this in the description box. I will speak to you guys soon.